Hi, my name is Jonathan and I have 6 months to live. Well, not really, but maybe. Who knows? Today, I'm going to continue with my book, The Tree of Happiness. In the previous videos, I talked about the health and finance bucket. Today, I'm going to talk about the relationship bucket. Our relationship bucket represents all of the meaningful relationships, the quality relationships we have in our lives. The more strong, meaningful connections that we have, the larger and fuller our relationship buckets are. What makes a relationship? Every day we encounter tons of people randomly at supermarkets, in lines, coffee shops, even through introductions with friends and family. Those are like the initial sparks in a fire. In order to have a relationship, that fire must be kept going. There has to be fuel added to it. So the initial spark alone doesn't make a relationship. You have to continue communicating, continue to hang out, continue to get to know each other to have a relationship. Once that fire gets going, how strong that relationship is will depend on the quality of fuel we add and how often we add fuel to keep that fire going. What are the different ways that we can add fuel to the fire? Different ways to open faucets to pour relationship energy into our buckets. The lowest level is the electronic method. You can text, you can email, social media, group chats, etc. Electronic means are easy to do and you can send out tons of connections with people, but they are low-level faucets. They don't create meaningful relationships yet. The next level of faucet is in-person encounters. They are things like physical dates, movie dates, dinner dates, coffee dates, social activities, parties, sports events, even physical introductions are physical encounters. These faucets are stronger and more meaningful because we have physical connections interacting with people. The third level of faucet is the strongest, and these are deep connection faucets. Deep connections are things that we do to allow us to communicate who we are, our past, what we've been through, what we have experienced, communicate who we are now, what are ideas, ideology, perspective, how we feel about things, and also to communicate our future, our passions, and our aspirations, our goals. So when you communicate and understand each other's past, present, and future, then you have a stronger, deeper connection. And these type of faucets are the strongest, and they create the most meaningful relationships. So when we are trying to fill our relationship buckets, keep in mind that the best type of fuel to add are the deeper connection fuels, not the electronic fuels. But every bit counts. So if you have time, send electronic messages to friends, people you've encountered, families, loved ones, the ones that you care to have a relationship with. But try to have in-person meetings and deeper conversations. Now, the different types of holes that can happen in our relationship bucket. The first are the cost of time hole. This cost of time is in everyone's bucket, and it is in every bucket. It's a permanent hole, albeit small, but it's permanent, so everybody everybody's fire, flames with other people, connections, burn out slowly over time if we do nothing to help. So that hole is permanent. The next level of hole in our bucket are the lack of understanding, lack of empathy hole. This is a result of us not knowing who the other person is, not knowing where they come from, not knowing their experience, not knowing much about them. So when we have a lack of understanding of the other person, it is a hole that keeps us from filling up meaningful relationships with them. The next level of hole, the more damaging one, is called the misunderstanding hole. Misunderstanding is worse than lack of understanding, because misunderstanding is when we think we know something, when we assume something, when we predict something about someone, and it is inaccurate, it is wrong. So when you think someone is a certain way and they're not, and you react based on what you think, and you react or act incorrectly, then that is a hole in the bucket, because we are not communicating or acting or reacting according to who that person is. So that is a very damaging hole in our bucket. And the most damaging hole is called the hatred, negative energy hole. Negative energy hole is like a trap hole. It keeps people from having strong, meaningful relationships with someone because they have strong negative emotions like resentment, hatred, anger, fear, jealousy. All of those negative emotions that you have towards someone represents the giant holes in your bucket with them. These trap holes will keep you from ever filling up your relationship with someone, no matter how much time you spend with them, no matter how much you talk, no matter how much you try to understand. If you don't plug up those negative resentment holes somehow, you will have very low relationship with them. So if you understand different types of holes to fill up your bucket with someone, you should connect with them and have meaningful relationships so that you understand them more. But also try to find ways to plug up the trap holes, the negative emotions, the negative resentment feelings, the negative anger feelings towards someone. And to do that, you have to seek professionals, psychiatrists, find ways to do that properly. But all I'm saying is find ways to plug up those holes first to effectively fill up your bucket. Now I'm going to talk about the different types of relationship. A fire gets kept going only if there's fuel poured into it by someone. But just because there's fuel poured in, it doesn't make a good solid relationship. A good solid relationship is one where the fire gets bigger and bigger over time. So in order to do that, both sides of the relationship have to contribute into the fire. They have to give more than they take out of the relationship. So when I say give and take, what do I mean? There are 4 areas that you can give and take: time, money, love, and care. These are the 4 areas that you can pour fuel into the fire. Time is your time physical spent with them, your time availability to be with them, and your time availability if they need you. Money is the contribution that you make to pay for the things that you guys do together. A lot of trade-off events and activities like watching a movie, dinners, etc. cost money. So you have to contribute money to make these things happen sometimes. So that's the money part. Love is all the positive emotions that you feel towards someone. All the good things you feel. And your emotion doesn't have to be reciprocated in order for you to love someone. You can love them without them loving you back. So if they're happy, you're happy. If they're sad, you're sad. You are connected to their well-being. That is your feeling of love. Care is what you do for someone to make them feel loved. Care is making sure that they feel their safety is a priority, their emotions are a priority, their well-being, physical or mental, they are taken care of. That is the care, the things that you do to express your love. Now you can contribute into the fire by adding all of these four things: love, money, care, and time. If you do one without the others, for instance, if you add fuel by adding money but not love, care, or time, or if you add love but not care, time, and money, or if you add care without the others, your quality of fuel is lower, but you're still adding. That's better than nothing. The highest quality of fuel is when you have a combination of care, love, and time. Whether you add money to it is not that important, but care, love, and time make the most quality fuel. So when I say give more than take, I mean that both sides have to contribute care, love, and time more than they ask out of the relationship. They don't have to add more than the other person, because sometimes you just can't have more than the other person to give. You don't have as much money as them to add into the relationship. You don't have as much time sometimes because you have to spend time on your other buckets. Sometimes you cannot add as much care because of the time that you don't have. So when you don't have as much as the other person, it's okay as long as you're not demanding more than what you're contributing. So when two people are adding more than what they're asking out of the relationship, the fire will grow larger and larger and larger. It's when you have one person asking for more than what they contribute and the other person is giving more, then you have an unhealthy relationship. It's still a relationship because the fire is still kept burning by the person, the giver, and the taker keeps taking. That type of relationship will continue. It's unhealthy, but it will continue as long as the giver continues to give. Once the giver stops giving, then you will see that the relationship dies very quickly. So that type of relationship is an unhealthy relationship. To have a healthy relationship, you have to have both persons giving more than what they take. And we see that in our daily lives between healthy and unhealthy relationships between our friends and family. So I hope you understand from this video the different levels of contribution of time, love, and care and money. And also, in-person connections are stronger than electronic. Also, the different types of holes in our bucket. The largest and biggest holes are the trap holes, which are all the negative feelings that we feel towards someone. Those need to be squished out and plugged up. And also, the other type of hole is misunderstanding holes that needs to be plugged up. If we understand incorrectly about someone, we must have tons of conversation to right that wrong, to correctly understand them. That's how you plug up the misunderstanding holes. And then the cost of time hole can be plugged up. Actually, it can't be plugged up, but it can be minimized just by spending more time with someone, either electronically or in person. So I hope you get from the idea of how the relationship buckets work and the healthy versus unhealthy relationships and how to plug up the holes in our buckets. And next time I will talk about the pleasure and hobby bucket. Until then, please stay safe and healthy.